Hello, everyone, and welcome down to episode 145 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia. And the guy on your other screen or in your other ear, if you're listening to the podcast, it's welcome back to the channel, Mr.Glynn Lavender. Yay. Hello, Glynn. How are you?
I'm disappointed.
Why is that?
It's taken a long time for a second invitation, mate.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
you got to be pretty
you invite me
special.
on. I
Yes,
thought it went well.
yes,
I thought we got good feedback. And
yep.
then you only call me up because Cameron's away and you're desperate for another host.
Now, that is absolutely true.
True. Yeah.
That's why. No, no, no. You know you're always welcome here. You just got to ask, mate, and you're welcome on the Down South Photo Show. It's
That's
good
good
to
to know. I'll see you next week.
it's good to
Thanks
see
for
your
having
smiling
me.
face.
See you later.
Shortest podcast episode ever. Thanks to everyone who has liked, followed along to the channel, and subscribed. All that fun stuff. Fast approaching 1,000 subs on YouTube, so thank you very much for that. Really quick bit of homework while we've got Glynn waiting. Our December comp is now up on Facebook. You have to hit Down South Photo Show on Facebook. Hit the pin post underneath. The theme is right up Glynn Lavender's alley for December is foreign. So
Oh, can I be the judge?
sure, why not?
I love
That's
judging people's work. That's my passion in life is to
yes.
judge people and to determine if they're worthy or not.
And I love making snap decisions on the Down South Photo Show, particularly when Mr. Blake's not around. So absolutely, you're
Stuffing.
in. You are the judge for the December comp,
Whew.
which means you have to give up the prize as well. You realize that, don't you?
Really?
No, you don't. That's
The
fine.
prize, well,
The
no,
prize is on me.
the prize could be very simple. They don't have to listen to the next episode.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
When
a
we're
year off, they can have 2025 off.
that's right. Cam and I ran a workshop recently, and Cam gave away a prize, and the first prize was one of his books. And the guy that won it said, "What was second prize? Two of your
Two
books?"
copies. Yeah,
Yes. I promised I wasn't going to repeat that story, but he's not here, so it doesn't matter
but
really matter.
it's what I would have said if I knew about it. So
Yes. Now, we've got Mr. Lavender on to have a chat with us about his recent exploits, big trip across to India, where he took a group of people on a photography tour. Can't wait to dissect that. However, I want to start a little bit before that. For those of you who haven't sort of seen the episode where we had Glenn on the channel, I don't know, 100 episodes ago, whenever it was, we'll link that below for you. We'll also link everything that this awesome man does below in the description. In 25 words or less, Mr. Lavender, how would you describe yourself in the photography industry?
egotistical, loudmouth, opinionated, male. Because that's usually those things normally are all associated with each other. I'm a moderately competent photographer who's pretty decent at teaching it.
Very good. Oh, that was roughly 25 words or less. And one half of the Shutters Inc. podcast, which of course
That's
we must.
the world's second longest running podcast on photography.
There you go. With Bruce.
Bruce Williams,
Thank you.
590 episodes or something in, and
Please forgive me, Bruce, for forgetting your surname, but Bruce Williams, thank you very
I
much.
often do, and not been with him for hundreds of episodes, so it's okay. Yeah,
Now that podcast comes out relatively weekly,
rarely.
or oh right,
It used to be weekly, Weakly, came out
yes,
quite weekly, and
nice.
then we realized, 500 or so episodes in that we ran out of stuff to say about episode 120. And so we'd been going for 380 episodes of basic crap.
Yeah,
So we've dropped it to bi-weekly.
okay.
And then we haven't done one for about 5 weeks. So
Yeah, yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
squeeze another one out before the end of the year, but being away and stuff, it's been
Life has a
tricky.
habit of getting in the way, doesn't it,
It
sometimes? So,
does. It
no, I
does. Life
totally
is what
understand.
happens when you're busy doing other things,
Correct. And look,
making other plans.
absolutely. And with that in mind, 1,000 thank yous to everyone who tuned into our wonderful interview with Mr. Nick Carver last week. Not sure if you're familiar with Nick Carver's work, Mr. Lavender.
I don't know anyone's photography, but
Fine.
I don't look at photographers.
Fine. It was brilliant, and I do recommend you tune in. And again, that's last week's episode. We're not talking too much about that, but
So what you're trying to say is last week's was really good.
yeah. So
This
he set a very
week's,
high bar. I've got to
yeah,
tell you.
that's
Yeah,
we're gonna manage to miss that by quite a fair way. I
yeah.
assure you of that.
But just look, 1,000 thanks for everyone, and to our new subscribers that channel brought in. So welcome aboard. You're gonna pick up a heap out of this guy. Don't you worry, Mr. Lavender. Without pissing in your pocket too much, you're one of my favourite Australian photographers. There's no doubt about that. And that's not just because we're mates.
Australian photographers?
So did I say Australian?
One of your favorite global.
All-time
Th-
photographers.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Oh, and yeah, all-time, absolutely. And I've learnt
I'm
a hell of a
humble, but
lot
I'm
from.
vain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've learnt a hell of a lot from you, Mr. Lavender. So it's good to have you back on the channel.
Thanks, mate.
Also, I just want to quickly talk about your experience that you had at BFOP this year, because
Yes.
once again, I tagged along to one of your. I got my workshops out of the way early. Mr. Lavender was running one. I think it was the Sunday morning. I think I joined in
Yep. Yep.
with you on the Sunday
Were you
morning.
there?
Yeah, vaguely. You wouldn't have seen me. I was hiding behind reflectors and
Oh,
scrims and stuff. So
don't
yeah.
recall you being there, but still. But
Well, it
thanks for
was.
coming.
That's fine. The feedback that I got from people that did that workshop up at BFOP was absolutely sensational. So, how was your BFOP experience in 2024?
Yeah, look, it's so that was my second ever BFOP,
Yeah,
and just whilst we go on any further, there's less than 50 tickets left for next year,
it's
so
crazy. It's
get out there
amazing.
and buy them if you're umming and ahhing about it. Don't wait
Yeah,
too much longer.
absolutely.
But and if you don't make that decision in time, make sure you're on the Facebook page BFOP groupies, because
Yes.
people towards the actual event itself realize they have other things planned or whatever, and they can't make it, so they sell the tickets. This
Yep.
is still a secondary opportunity. Look, so this is my second attempt going up there, and I run a morning portrait workshop, 2 hour portrait workshop called um, Great Photos in Shit Locations.
Yes.
And then I do a very different one in the evening. It's called Great Portraits in Shit Locations, but at night. Um, the morning ones are pretty easy to do. They're hard workshops to run because there's 20 people of varying skills with no time to actually teach
Yep.
and get hands on and work out problems they may be having, or even look at their photos that they're capturing to make sure they're grasping what I'm trying to teach. So it's 20 people, 2 hours, but my goal on those workshops is to give two or three new ways of seeing things and new way of thinking about things. I throw out about 10 or 15, and if they pick up two or three, then that's hopefully it's a pretty good couple of hours spent. The nighttime one is vastly harder because it's at night and you can see even less. And it's done with LED lighting from the fabulous Harlow Creators lighting. Just a little plug in there. Um, and that's really hard. That's a hard workshop to run. So next year, I'm coming up with a whole new concept. I'm not doing the nighttime one next year. I've come up with a brilliant new concept of photography. And my afternoon one's now going to be called Shit Portraits in Great, no, Great Portraits in Shit Locations, but in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a whole revolutionary concept of
Yeah.
walking
Yeah.
around and learning how to use the crap locations that we have. So if
Yeah.
I'm known for one of the things I'm known for is the ability to shoot anywhere. And I literally mean anywhere and get
Yep.
photographs. So
Yep.
and be able to craft usable quality portraits in generally bad locations. So that's kind of what their focus is there. And I did my new talk up there, a dog car window, your guide to better travel portraits
Yeah.
talk, which was they do like a talk with a bit of an unusual twist. And so for those who were lucky enough to miss it, the whole concept is based around travel photography is when you go into complex scenes where there's a lot of stuff going on, is how do you distill that down into a photograph that connects that has interest and is as powerful as you can make it. And if you think of the words dog, car, window, and you imagine those three in your head, you can pretty much pull up a picture of a dog with its head out of a window, with its tongue outside of its mouth, with a stupid look on its face, with its hair blowing in the wind on a sunny blue sky day as a car's going down the road. People can picture with those three words a fairly complex scene. So my goal is to try and find those very complex scenes and distill them down to those three words. So it's kind of reversing that formula. So that's kind of my philosophy on anything with travel is this is crazy. How do I make it manageable and create something out of it that kind of works? So.
Yeah.
So BFOP's great again. Yeah, 550 odd photographers is an astounding thing, and the attitude and the camaraderie is great. The friendships, man, I think this is the big thing. If you're not a member of a camera club or don't have maybe a group of close friends that you go out and shoot photos with, photography can be a fairly lonely sport. You're
Yeah.
just out there by yourself. So lots of people go up to BFOP by themselves, and they come away with new friends and new groups to shoot with. And I think that works for the whole year. It keeps on giving for a long period of time, which I think is fabulous. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
It is
best event
it's
in
a
the world.
wonderful event. It's an
Yeah, best
absolutely
event in the
wonderful event.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was
Easily the best, and I've done photo events all around the world, and nothing compares to this. So if you have the opportunity at some point in the future, make
yep.
the most of it.
So BFOP happens in Bright in country Victoria, in the high country of Victoria, and it happens in the second weekend of October 2025. bfopaustralia.com.au is where you need to go if you want to get along. And I'm looking forward to it next year already.
Yeah,
Now, you have you're fresh off the plane.
pretty
Back,
much. That's
yeah,
I wouldn't say fresh off the plane, but I'm off the
yeah,
plane.
you're off the plane, exactly right. Back from India. Now, Glenn, how many times have you been to India?
9 or 10 or 12
Yeah.
or 14, a lot. I don't know.
And why? Why India? What's the big attraction India for
Well,
you?
I'm predominantly a people photographer,
Yep.
for starters. So, despite the building and the in the image behind me,
That's
I'm
right.
predominantly a people photographer, and there's very few places in the world that are as visually colorful and the people are as interesting as India. And I've been to a fair few places, and it strikes that balance between adventure, safety, quality accommodation, amazing food, and great experiences. And when you're running groups, all those factors have to come into play. Really, especially the safety, especially the ability to get around, mostly reliability of things. India is a chaotic place, and stuff goes wrong all the time, and every single day is a nightmare. For me. The proverbial duck, calm on the surface, paddling like crazy underneath on every single day.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it gives us that balance. And I guess one of the other things too is it's reliable. You know that you can take a group there every single time, and you'll never ever photograph the place you were there last time. You'll never ever see the India you saw before.
Yeah.
You'll only see the India you see on that one trip, and every single trip is different.
Yeah.
I've never had the same. A classic example on day two of our tour this time round, we were at one of my favorite places, a place called Qutub Minar, which is basically a big brick minaret, one of the biggest in the world, or the biggest in the world. But I had this experience once years and years ago, just when I was there by myself, where I spent 5 hours in this abandoned mosque, which had beautiful light. And I stood there for 5 hours, just doing portrait after portrait after portrait. And I didn't say I had my camera all set up in manual. The light didn't change for 5 hours. So I didn't have to change a single setting for 5 hours. I just had to stand there like an idiot. Yeah, fairly easy to do, and
Yep.
smile. When people came through, and usually a lot of people from rural India come to tour to this place. It's a sense of pride for them to see it. So you get these incredible faces, incredible colors, and they come in, they'd see you and like, oh, and I'm twice their size usually, and they want to take a photo with you, and so I want to take a photo with them. I might take their photo. So I took portrait for 5 hours I spent in this place. And it's always had this endearing memory in my brain. But every time I go there, I feel that will never happen again.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yeah.
that the place has changed. And it's not like the light isn't still great. It's just that one moment, just everything coalesced together
Yeah.
where magic happened.
Yeah.
And that can happen in India, but it doesn't happen where you expect it. Oh, this is where it happened last time. Not this time.
Yep.
Nothing happens this time where magic happened last time,
So
but where
you go
nothing happened, magic happens.
you went back to that same spot this time
Oh
around
yeah,
and you
yeah. I've
go to
been there
that
every
same
every
spot
time,
each time.
every
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And it's never even come close to replicating itself.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions I've got for you is how structured are you? I mean, obviously you've got an itinerary, you know where you need to be, but I'm assuming, like all photography tours, there's got to be a fair amount of flexibility.
Yeah, the first line in my brochure is this is not an itinerary, it's suggestions.
Yes.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a rough outline of what we plan to do and when, and the group must be well and truly prepared to not do those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because stuff will go wrong. One example, we are leaving the city of Varanasi. The next morning, we're supposed to fly to Delhi and then catch another flight to Jodhpur, the blue city it's known as. Um, the night before flying, I got a message from the tour company saying the flight's cancelled due to fog. Don't know how they knew that. 12 hours, 14 hours out, but
Yeah.
they did.
Sounds legit.
Flights cancelled due to fog, rescheduled to this time. Get there, the rescheduled flight leaves the same right on time. We get off the plane. They said, "Oh, but we've got to change terminals, and you have to get your bags and then recheck your bags, and there's no time to make your next flight now."
Oh, jeepers.
So what are the options? Well, the options are, which is paid like I had to pay for this new flights because the other ones weren't going. So it's like a significant portion, not enough money for 8 people. I had to
Yeah.
pay out again,
Yep.
um, which we're no longer catching. So that flight's no longer there. They said, well, we've got two choices. We can catch tomorrow morning's flight, or we can drive for 6 to 8 hours. And this is what the tour guy is saying on the phone. I'm saying, it's not 6 to 8 hours to Jodhpur. I go, oh, yes, 6 to 8 hours. I said, mate, it's not 6 to 8 hours to Jodhpur. What's it really? Oh, probably 12 to 14.
Yeah.
I said, well, I go and tell my clients, your choice is to wait till tomorrow or take a 6 to 8 hour bus trip. And that bus trip turns into a 14-hour bus trip.
Yeah.
My world's not going to be happy. So we ended up doing the 12-hour bus trip
And it was
through
12
rural
hours?
India. It was like 13, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's impossible. I mean, Agra, which is only like 150 kilometers away, is a 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
And this is more than double that distance again. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
stuff like that goes wrong and you've
that's
got to
right.
adjust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are the
Yeah.
moments that make trips memorable. I mean, and look, at the time it might have been a pain in the ass, but I'm sure by the time you got there, everyone was like, "Hey, what an experience!"
Yeah. Well, as I always say, it's the stuff that goes wrong is where your stories are at.
That's
There's
right.
no stories. I went to this place. It was exactly what I thought. I got the shots that I expected and I left.
Yeah,
No story there. Yeah, there's no fond memories. There's no lasting anecdotes that you can share. Oh, you thought you had it tough. Well, yeah.
yes, that's right.
Um,
Exactly.
and all credit to the group. They were all gung ho for the 12-hour bus trip,
Yeah,
and it was actually really a good. But of course, I had to pay for the bus trip as well. So, pay for bus trip and driver and everything else on
yeah,
top of that. But yeah, that memory will be enmeshed in our brain for the trip forever. Yeah,
yeah,
but we missed out on half a day in Jodhpur, so it kind of squeezed parts of the trip up. But what I also try and do on these tours is okay, we're going to go to the places that are known, but I'm also always trying to find the places that aren't known.
yeah.
So in Varanasi, they're one of the most famous cities in the world. So it's the longest continuously inhabited city in the world. So they claim 6,000 years of continuous inhabitation.
Amazing.
And it's everyone knows it as the sea where they burn the bodies on the Ganges. That's the famous
Yeah,
what's known for. But I read this little article about these wooden toy makers that live in these little alleyways, and there was an old art form that they were famous for hundreds of years, and it was almost wiped out in like the 90s. And then these small families started bringing it back. So wouldn't that be cool? So we went exploring and tried to find these little laneways in the middle, and no tour company had ever been there before. Our guide, who's a phenomenal guide, he's a national guide of India. He's got what's called a gold star or gold ribbon guide. There's only 2,500 of them in all of India, so he's right up there. He had to hire a local guide in Varanasi to try and get us in the area, and then that local guide had to hire a local man from the village to show us where to go.
yeah,
So, getting around, and as I said, that's all stuff you can't plan for. You assume you're going to be able to just drive there and go and find it.
yeah,
But no, you're going to go find it, and you're going to find somebody who can help you, and then pay for that person to help you, and then
yeah.
they'll take you, and they don't really know what you want, and it's hard to translate. And even though my guides and fixers speak Hindi, there's dialects and regional variations, and yeah,
Of
it's
course.
fun. Duck, calm, paddle, paddle, paddle.
100%. And but you do go with a guide. A guide is with you
Always, yeah,
the whole
always,
trip.
always have a guide. Yeah, so it's always a driver and an assistant
Yep.
and a guide, and
Yep.
then sometimes we have another guide to help out as well. So, because I ask for things that aren't quite normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so absolutely, a guide's important because they're generally more a fixer than a guide. As in, they don't go, oh, this building was blah 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 blah. Sometimes we'll let him talk on the bus as
Yeah.
we're driving to a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Umesh, you got 10 minutes. Then shut up. And but on the very last day of the tour, because we're really time poor. He goes, I'm going to take control today and run that. We had like an hour and a half in this one location. He says, I want to run everyone through. I said, do it. So he was actually a tour guide for the first time ever that I've seen him. It was so funny to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have a fixer who helps communicate things and holds my lights. He's my light stand. And he's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
and I try and get the same guy every time because I've trained him. And once they're trained, you
Yep.
want to keep hold of them.
So is there a particular reason why you go at that time of year? Is it the right timing for admissions?
Um,
Is it the right
the
timing for
best times to
festivals, that
go,
sort of thing?
well, there's a festival every day in India. There's
Yep.
330 million gods or something. Yeah, there's enough festivals for everybody, trust me. Um, but February, March into April is probably and then October, November, early December is probably the two prime times
Yep.
because other than that, it's either way too hot or way too wet.
Right.
And we're talking, 50 degrees Celsius hot, which is, was it 120, 130 Fahrenheit? So
Yep.
extremely hot.
Yep.
The hottest day I've ever had there was 53 degrees. And that's
Yep.
not somewhere you want to take customers to.
No.
So yeah, they're the peak times as far as temperatures go. And it happens to have in March, they have the Holy Festival, the Colour Festival, people know. I've done that a few times. So I'll probably never go back again with clients because it's really hard. It's a physically, mentally, spiritually a tough event to shoot. It's extremely exhausting. Hell of a lot of fun, but really chaotic.
Chaotic is
Yeah,
the word that springs to mind.
absolute
Yeah.
chaotic. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then in November we used to go to the what's called the Pushkar Mela, the Pushkar Camel Fair, which is
Yep.
in a town called Pushkar, which is on the edge of the Thar Desert. And this is the first time I've been back post-COVID to Pushkar, and it's changed a lot.
Right.
A lot of the old guys have died off during COVID, so
Mm,
all the
right.
old guys with the great faces, the beards, are not quite the same. And there's a lot more people out there just want money for photos. So the experience of talking to someone, which is my preference, is to meet someone, learn something about them, um, ask to take their photo of somebody that I know and have met, and then take their photo, not
Yep.
walk up, take photo, click, and walk off.
Yeah.
And now it's pay, and it does take some of the joy.
Well, it's almost
And
it's almost like you've seen my run sheet of questions because that was the next question was how do you navigate that? I mean, when you've got people, and it happens a lot to just like travelers everywhere, people put their hand out to have their
yeah,
photo taken.
yeah.
How do you navigate that?
So it's all a balance. There are places in the world where it's pay to play. If you want to go shoot Mr. Wu, the famous cormorant fisherman in China, with his hat and his lantern and the bird with his wings open on the front of his boat and the mountains in the background, I think that's $40 a shot just about that guy. Yeah. And it's
Right.
15 Mr. Wu's lined up down the river, so you can take your choice of Wu.
Yeah.
Then if you go to Havana in Cuba and you see the little old lady with the big cigar, and you're not taking a photo of her without some exchange of funds.
Yeah.
So the same as in Varanasi, if you want to photograph some of the babas, the holy men, that's going to cost you some shekels. But the way I prioritize this sort of stuff is this is not a random walk up 2 minute, g'day, nice to meet you. Oh, I'm blah blah blah. Can I take your photo? This is we're going to do a learning moment for the group, and we're
Yep.
going to spend some time. We're going to take our time, and we're going to make sure everyone gets some time. So it's now a 15 to 30 minute shoot.
Yep.
And like any model here, I'll pay people for that time.
Yeah.
I'm asking a lot of that person or those people for a long period of time. So that happened in Varanasi, photographing a couple of old Baba guys. Not actually weren't even that old; they were fairly young. One guy was a flute player. One guy, I can't remember what the other guy had. It's just a staff, I think. But we're photographing them, and all their mates are sort of sitting up on this other plinth just above them. And so we finished with there, and then I'm sitting up there with these guys, and we're chatting for 10 or 15 minutes afterwards. We're sharing WhatsApp numbers. They're sending me photos of their family. I'm sending photos of. So even though it's a pay-to-play environment, we've got a genuine connection with these guys, and it
Yeah.
feels okay. And that money goes to their whole community. It's not paying one person; it pays everybody. So
That's
that's kind of a
fantastic.
different experience, and that's not too bad. If
Yeah.
you're in things like smaller villages, which maybe doesn't get the tourist trade, you don't want to try and start up a pay-to-play experience. So I carry a little Hewlett Packard printer. It's about that size, called a Sprocket, and I'll take a photo of someone, and if we've had a good experience, I'll print out and give them a photo of themselves. And that is worth more than any money we could possibly offer them
I
because
could well
their
imagine.
expression on their face, and then when they run around the village showing it off, and then everyone else runs up to have their photo taken too, that experience is really, really good as well.
Well, I would imagine that some of these people have never had a printed photo of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, some people have never had a photo taken of them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
That's
so that's kind of a cool, and that works out as that's like an 80-cent print, but
yeah,
that's a lifetime memory for me and them, you
yeah,
know. So it's all a balance. But what we're trying to avoid is places like Pushkar is now, where every single person, every single time you lift a camera, it's paper.
yeah,
It's just a terrible experience for everybody, for them, for us, and it
yeah.
sucks the joy out
Well,
of
there's
why
nothing
people go
authentic
there in the
about that,
first
is
place.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crushing, you know.
yeah,
And you know, when you look at the photos you've taken that you pay for, if there's no experience around that photo, other than I gave this person money, I made them stand there and bang, that photo has no soul to me anyway. I can't enjoy looking at that photo. But in Myanmar, I get a couple of young monks to come along because there's these amazing temples, but there's no one in them. Yeah, there's nothing happening in these because there's this one field has 2,600 temples in it. Yeah, and they're all empty. So if you go there trying to find little novice monks dancing around, it's not going to happen. So you take your own with you from the local monastery. Yeah, but when I look at the photographs, I don't think that I paid these young kids to come out. I remember the moment where I was teaching them to go with their finger
yeah,
and they start to learn how to make noises with their finger, and they're laughing and we laughing.
yeah,
And every time I look at the photographs, I remember our experience with them, not just the end result and the cash transaction. It's the holistic thing around it. Be a human first. So okay to help with a bit of money, but be a human first.
yeah.
And that came home really strong to me recently. I was doing a talk at a certain camera club. I won't mention it because they may listen and may know who it is. But before I went to
No one
do my
listens to this
talk,
show, mate. Don't worry about
you're number twos, I'm told. That's the only reason I came on. Um, these people, before I went and do my talk about photography, these people got up and did a talk about, I won't even say the country because they'll know, no, they'd gone on a tour to a certain country. They've got
Yep.
traveling and they're photographers. And they're showing their photos and they're going, oh, it was really amazing. I took a photo of this lady selling fruit and she wouldn't take my money after I took a photo. And this guy wouldn't take my photo. And every time the guy took a photo, he tried to pay people for it for people who aren't asking for it. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
what are you setting up?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, you take a photo of someone selling a fruit store, maybe buy a bit of fruit. That's
Yeah.
okay. Buy
That's
some
right.
fruit, buy a bottle of water. Buy something. Hey, so if there's a cool guy selling trinkets, yeah, little trinkets, buy a trinket off him because every time you look at your trinket, you remember the experience as well anyway. You know, make something special out of it. Don't make
Yeah.
it a transaction because the
Yeah, that's right.
photos will never have any soul. Well, they
That's
shouldn't
right.
have any soul. And if they have soul to you, maybe you need to look at yourself. You
Yeah.
know, what's your purpose and joy in
I am
photography?
still here. I've just dropped the
Yeah, no, you
headphones.
just lost your ear. I saw it. Yeah, yeah. So that's a thing we try and endeavor. And when you've got 7 or 8 people who need to shoot,
Yep.
sometimes it takes more than just 2 minutes. You need to take some time with people.
Yep.
And so I think it's all balance. Yeah, if that answers a question reasonably well.
Oh, very, very well. And I totally get it because as I say, one thing I've noticed from the get-go of seeing your portrait photography, particularly out of India, is it does have that authenticity about it. And that can't be faked, I don't reckon. I mean,
I
and
could fake it with the best of them, but um, there's got to be connection. There always has to be connection. And here's the
yeah,
other thing too: if people are a little bit wary of photographing people, go to India because they'll call you over and beg to have their photo taken.
yeah,
People love connecting. They want to take your photo. I love going to places where people are as interested as you
yeah,
are in them,
yeah,
and that's a great thing. And India, there's 1.42 billion people. Not all of them have been photographed yet. I've tried. I'm working my way through them. But
yeah,
get out there and you walk around with a smile on your face and engage with people. And don't be the guy with the 200 mil lens from 50 feet away doing a sneaky portrait.
yeah,
Yeah, be the guy with the 17 mil lens in their grill. After you've talked to them and had a connection, and there's a laughter and there's a connection in the eyes. It's a
yeah,
big difference.
yeah. No, I love it. And generally speaking, how many people do you take to India on one
No more
tour?
than 8.
No more
Yeah,
than eight.
never more than 8. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be
Yeah.
personal for everybody. I've got to be able to spend my time personally with everybody.
Yeah.
And it's got to be not a production line of the stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to have some. That's got to have authenticity too. It's got to
Yeah.
be an exploration for all of us and an experience for all of us. And it's no experience if everyone stands up and lines up in the same spot to take photo A, photo B, photo C.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time to yeah, explore your own photographic ideas, not just be limited by mine.
Yeah.
This trip for the first time, I actually had little daily challenge sheets with just knowing where we were going and things like yeah, work on your balance, work on color, work on textures, work on all these kind of things that forces you to maybe step outside of what you normally would shoot as
Yeah.
well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a massive fan of that sort of stuff too. When I run tours or when Cam and I run tours together, we have a daily challenge as well. And we'll literally we'll find the shittiest subject we can find. And it's
So
like,
Cam,
right, yeah, it's
take
like
photos
just
of Cam every day.
that's right, exactly. And it's like just give us, you know, you've got half an hour. I want the best photo of this crappy old building. And yeah, it's great. You can see it's amazing when you put a prize on the line as well. Yeah, you can
The
see,
competition.
yeah, but you can see the cogs turning over, and it's
Yeah.
great. I love that sort
So
of stuff.
the difference in my challenges is
Yeah,
I'm only challenging them against themselves.
yes,
They don't have to show anybody else. They don't have to show me. It's just this is your challenge today for you to see something around these elements.
yep,
And if you have questions about that, feel free to ask me. But I want to just challenge you to do better for you, not to
yeah.
do better against everybody else. And but that's just my way of doing things.
Well, our challenges are really just designed for me and Cam to get half an hour off and go and get a coffee, or in some cases a
Yeah.
beer. Um,
There's no time off for me on my tours. They're full
so,
on.
so when you have people book into your tours, is there a certain level of experience behind the camera you expect people to have?
I expect people to know nothing.
Excellent.
Pretty much all. And if they tell me they're pretty good, I expect them to know nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing to have photographic knowledge, there's one thing to have photographic ability, there's another thing to be confronted by the chaos, the sound, the freneticness that is India, and be able to craft good photographs. You can be technically good. Here's the thing. 90% of this last tour, I didn't change one camera setting.
Is that right?
I had the same camera settings, same shutter speed, same aperture for 90% of every photo I've taken. So it's not about technical proficiency with your camera gear. It's about vision. And so I expect people to know nothing. What I try and do, especially if they're Melbourne-based people, is I'll do a little morning get-together just to talk about stuff like settings and expectations. And managing expectations is a really important thing because not every photo is going to be a Nat Geo worthy photo. You can take lots of crap in between the quality stuff because how photography works. And if they're either international or interstate, I'll try and do a Zoom catch up with them and just talk through all those sort of things. So the expectation is you don't really need to know a lot, but hopefully we will elevate you as the tour goes on to get better and better
Yeah.
at this aspect of photography, if nothing else.
And is there a minimum level of equipment that you expect people to take?
Um, Ideally two bodies,
Yep.
but one's acceptable. We had one husband and wife group on this tour coming along, and they were going to share one camera between the two of them, which blew
Wow.
blew my tiny little brain. So I actually ended up loaning him one of my cameras and lenses to the husband for him to use. So he had a camera set up for each other. So the reason for two cameras is you want to have your two most used lenses on all the time, out
Yes.
around your neck, ready to shoot, because stuff happens this fast. There's some shots I think in the presentation where you have 2 seconds to do the shot. And if you don't do it in that 2 seconds, you're not getting that photo, and that photo may not happen again.
Yeah.
And in fact, the shot photo I've got in the presentation didn't happen again. It was that 1 2 second opportunity. Of the 8 people, I was the only one who got it.
Yeah.
And so having two lenses, cameras out, you can pick up, and swap really, really quickly. And again, if you're not changing any camera settings, if both cameras are set with exactly the same settings, you're going to be doing okay. You're
Yeah.
going to capture more than you're going to miss, which is important.
Yeah.
So ideally two bodies and it's something to places like India. I want something pretty wide, 15, 17 mil on a 35 mil frame camera. So 15 to 30, 16 to 35, 17 to 28, which is what I was using with Sony. And then the other lens I was using was a 35 to 150, which is another Tamron lens. I'm a Tamron ambassador. So I only shoot with Tamron lenses. So that's pretty much 95% of all the shots. I did have in my bag a 50 to 400, which I
Yeah.
wanted for push car for such as some sort of isolation shots among crowds. But I didn't use it an awful lot. Maybe 5% of the photos.
Yeah, we all, as traveling photographers, we always end up taking a lens on a tour that,
Mm.
it's just gone on a trip somewhere and it never gets out of the bloody
It's had a
bag.
nice trip, yeah. So
Yeah,
I also carry LED lighting. I carry flashes and triggers for every brand of camera, some modifiers, all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
When I say I carry it, I make my guide
Well, with that
carry
in mind,
it around. Yeah,
you've obviously got to have a bit of a grasp on all the different manufacturers and all the different
yeah,
camera
a little
setups that
bit.
are
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I'm assuming you're not brandist. It's like, well, whatever you've got is what we're going to play with.
It's a
So
box that opens and closes. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah.
So you're comfortable with anyone bringing any brand.
Any brand. What had a lady on this trip had Panasonic, and that was a little more challenging to navigate because it was a more entry-level body camera. It didn't have quite the range of settings that other cameras would have.
Yep.
So I had to adjust for her, and that's okay. That's no problem. That's my job to do that,
Yep.
and that worked out pretty well. The biggest issue is when something like when a camera won't trigger the off-camera flash if you do any off-camera flash shots. I carried off-camera flash and triggers for every brand and softboxes around all of India. Didn't use one flash shot. So as I say, they went for a nice holiday and did no
Yep.
work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when something goes wrong, that's harder to fix than how to use these settings or where to find that on your menu. So yeah, you do your best
Yeah.
always.
Well, look, apologies to those of you who are listening to the podcast rather than watching it on YouTube because we're about to show off some of the photos from this recent trip to India. If you are listening, we do recommend you jump onto YouTube, onto our channel, so you can check out the images we're about to put up. Glynn will obviously attempt to give the 1,000 words for each one, but
Do you have a Facebook page?
yes, we do.
So feel free to just put them up on Facebook too. If people
Oh,
just want to go
listen to
look at
this
them
guy. He just lives to give.
without without having to go and watch because it's bad enough listening, let alone seeing us.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't sit through the whole podcast to see them, but pop them
Yeah,
on there and people can have a look at them.
yeah, for
So,
sure. So
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I can see
hopefully
that.
we can now see. Now, bear with me while I get my act together this end. You can see that all right?
Yeah, looks shit
Good.
on my screen. Oh,
I'm
it's
just
better.
going.
It's
So
not 400%. These are very low res images I sent to you, by
they
the
are they
way.
are
So,
lowish res, but they should come across on people's screens
yeah,
okay.
hopefully, yeah, yeah.
And as Mr. Lavender just said, we will chuck them up on the Facebook page for you next week, so you can check them out there as well. Let's start with this shot right here, Glenn.
Yeah. What do you want to know about it?
Uh, I've got a
What do you think? What do
feeling.
you think the photo's about?
Well, I've got a
About I ask you
feeling.
the questions.
I've got a feeling this might have been one of the shots that maybe only you got, or this.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
assuming this person was walking through that scene and had this was not posed, this was not set up in any way.
No, no.
Um, but I'd
But
love. I
the
mean,
thing is, but here's the problem though. Not a problem. But here's the thing. This woman was walking for, I saw at least a minute out.
yep,
So she's walking, 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 walking. So there's time, yeah. But at the same time, this shot's all about balance.
yep,
So it's not really kind of a shot that you can shoot from any angle. So if you're not in the ideal position, your balance is going to be out. Yeah, you're
yep,
not going to have that. And a lot of the architectural stuff in India is all about the symmetry and balance. This is actually a tomb, but it's one of the precursors for. It was one of the inspirations for the Taj Mahal,
yeah,
which
right,
everyone knows the Taj Mahal.
yeah,
So some of this is like a 600-year-old building. But that's I think I put this photo in simply for the fact that things don't have to be complicated.
yeah,
Good photography often is simple. Yeah, it's a building, it's a bit of a reflection of someone walking past. It doesn't have to be, bells and whistles every single photograph. We can find hopefully engaging images in simplicity.
Yeah.
And so every time I go here, I try and find a different way to shoot this building. And sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's further away. But yeah, it's a matter of, and yeah, this is another typical India day where there's not a lot of detail in the sky. There's a little bit in the reflection, funny enough, because that's a little bit darker, but the sky's not got a lot of detail to get the building looking okay.
Yeah,
Um,
you did well with getting the nice reflection, not a lot of wind around, obviously, so you're getting
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's not windy in India and it doesn't rain in India, and there's generally not many clouds in India at that time
Yeah,
of year. So you
yeah,
tend to do pretty well. No raincoat required for India.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just a matter of and this sort of thing. I guess is also I put the image in as about patience. It's don't expect something to be happening the second you get there. Give it 2, 3, 5 minutes and just see what's happening. Maybe take some photos of the building. Maybe include more of the sky. Maybe include more of the dome. Maybe get tighter, work your way around the composition and find what speaks to you. Um, and then hopefully something a little more dynamic happens, or maybe, and if for no other reason, this woman gives the building scale. Yeah, which without her
Yeah.
there, it's a little harder to get the feel for
No, that's
because
right.
yeah, it's pretty unusual. This is India with only one person in it.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
seeing that the figure there, the lady in the shot, scale definitely one thing. Just looking at the stairs behind, they look like quite tall stairs, and if she wasn't there,
yeah.
you wouldn't have that level of scale.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have recognizable elements
Yeah,
in images that are a little more obtuse, a little bit less obvious. So if you put a recognizable element in there, then it kind of helps the brain understand what you're seeing.
yeah, and the fact that she's got the traditional dress on as well
Yeah,
was an
yeah, and that's the
added
thing. I mean,
bonus.
there's plenty of Western tourists walking around, but why would
Yeah,
you want one of those in your photos? So
yeah,
t yeah,
exactly
take your
right.
time, be patient. Yeah, and the thing is as well, yeah. So I've chopped the dome off, which a lot of people would think is important, and it's an important part of the building. But on a day where it's bland blue sky, you want as little of that in the photos as possible.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to chop stuff off. I do it
No.
all the time.
Yeah.
If it yeah, I try and pare every photograph down to its least usable elements. Get rid of everything that's not part of the story or not required for the story, and see how you go.
But you kept the whole dome in the reflection.
By chance, yeah, because I really like the reflection. It's
Yeah.
again, it's about balance.
Yep.
The weight of the building, because you can see more of the building. The weight of the building's heavier
Yep.
is in the weight in the balance in the image. When
Yep.
you have more of the building in the reflection, that counteracts that balance.
Yeah. I totally get it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Cool.
as I said, this is more not my normal cup of tea at all. It's not the stuff I aching to go out to photograph buildings or landscapes. I rarely do that, but yeah, yeah, the tour's got to be more than just go around and photograph people all day, every day. You've got to
Yeah.
blend the culture with the environment, with the people, and yeah, try and feel like you've actually been to a place, not just seeing the people who live there.
Yeah, for sure. So we're just going to jump over to this one here. Wow, this is so this now I've got no idea what time of day you shot this. Now, what am I looking at here? Am I looking at fog? Am I looking at smog? What do we got going
Yeah,
on
it's
here?
it's pollution. Yeah, so first up, this is the world's most polluted river. It's a
Okay.
river called the Yamuna River in Delhi,
Yep.
and this is pollution. Just this week, the Indian Parliament was talking about moving out of Delhi forever because it's uninhabitable for 3 months of the year because of the pollution.
Wow.
Something like acceptable levels of pollutants per square meter. I think was something about 5, and these have 90. So it's unhabitable. So every year in the Yamuna River, around this time of year, around mid-November, early December, these are Arctic seagulls. They fly down from the Arctic and migrate down, and basically they winter over in this river, this polluted river in the back of the Red Fort in Delhi. Not a place a lot of Westerners go to. First time I've ever been there, but I went down there and I'm trying to photograph the birds that were coming in. I've got photos with hundreds more birds, but this one sort of spoke a little bit more. It's because it's a local spot where people go to get their Instagram photo or their
Right.
engagement shot or their
Yeah.
wedding shot. It's very much a spot for the locals to go to. So it's just this guy and his girlfriend just paddling out of the mist, the birds swirling around, and again, extremely simple. Not a lot of elements. There's probably, as I guess you'd say, three elements or
Yeah.
four: people, boat, birds, smog. But yeah, again, pairing. the story, if you want to call it that, down to the least possible words.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dog car
Classic
window.
use of negative space and minimalist approach,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. And
and,
it's
and
a
also it's just what I love the fact, and it's such a juxtaposition. But you've you talk pollution, and that's what it took to deliver that image.
yeah, and beauty because she's doing the beautiful pose and all
Yeah,
this sort of, and in this horrendous. Yeah, I'm surprised the boats didn't dissolve. Frankly,
yeah,
I saw this one dog swimming across the river. It's a wide river. It's probably 150 meters wide, 100
right.
meters wide, and this dog swimming across and going, "Hey, you're not dissolving as you're going across, dude. Are you all right, buddy?" He had this strange look. Help me, help me! I don't know how I got in here. You kind of thing. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, again, if we talk about my concept of dog car window, how can I simplify a photograph down into the least amount of words but still tell the story?
yeah,
Is kind of the goal in this shot. And I found I was doing that more and more this trip, is trying to make simple stories, but hopefully interesting ones.
yeah. And there's a tiny little element in this photo that I really like as well, and whether it's intentional or not, and that is the fact that the birds are ever so slightly motion blur.
Yeah. That was
That.
actually yeah. So I said 90% of the time I used one setting for the entire trip.
Yep.
Then the other 10% was either if I was doing a curated shoot, I'm on manual spot meter and really taking my time.
Yep.
But probably eight of the other 10% is I had a second custom setting with just a fixed slow shutter speed. Uh, so my settings basically, so that people might want to know, is
Yep.
250 per second shutter speed is
Yep.
my this is my 90% settings.
Yep.
250 shutter speed, 5.6 auto ISO.
Yep.
Okay, so that gives me pretty much good chance of getting focus at 5.6, especially when I'm shooting wide a lot of the time. 250 is pretty much sure that my unsteady hands and their movement's going to stop. That's
Yep.
90% of the shots for the tour. My other custom settings, I had them on custom settings on the camera, was a 25th of a second at f8 at auto ISO. So this
Yep.
is 25th of a second, hence getting the move. So you burst shooting to A, have the birds in interesting spots, and also to slow shutter speeds. I kind of have to burst shoot to keep my hand steady
Yeah.
and try and find the moment. And hopefully I hold them steady enough, but the movement created by the birds makes it a bit more interesting.
Can I just drill down on that just a fraction?
Yep,
I won't
please do.
linger too
No,
long.
no, that's right.
Auto ISO. Now,
Yeah,
I think this has become for me the biggest change in my photography quite recently, even in the last few years, is the way that modern day sensors can handle higher ISOs. Back in the day when I first got into digital in particular, and I was shooting on an 8 megapixel Olympus E300, if you pushed it beyond
mm.
400 ISO, it was unusable.
Famous E300s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was unusable above
yeah,
eight,
400,
400
800 was
ISO.
yeah,
Yeah,
800 was almost usable. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
and I don't even think auto ISO was a thing back then. But
probably
now,
not. Yeah.
yeah, now, and particularly with some recent experiences I've had, I'm starting to lean on auto ISO a lot more.
Yeah.
And is that the same for you?
Well, this is the first trip I've ever used these settings, so
Right.
I've never done it before. This is also the first time I've used Sony cameras whilst
Okay.
traveling. So I'm normally a
Yeah.
Canon shooter, but
Yeah.
Tamron said I'm an ambassador for wanted me to use some of their new lenses for this trip. So I set a maximum ISO choice of 12,800. I don't want to use any old
Mm.
ISO, so
Mm.
it would warn me when it was kind of borderline and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, exactly. I mean, when I said things happen in this much time, and if your exposure's out because you had the wrong ISO, you've lost that shot.
Yep.
Yeah, auto ISO gives you more keepers. I've got a shutter speed that's going to keep my hand steady. I've got an aperture that's going to make sure things are in focus. I need the ISO to most of the time make sure that it dealt with the exposure.
Yep.
The only variation to that is I can look at a scene if I've got a little bit of time, a couple of seconds rather than happening this fast. I know when I need to either overexpose the shot, which is what this is as well,
Yep.
or underexpose a shot because the camera's going to get confused by the lighting. So this is like a +2 stop overexposed shot.
Gotcha.
And so I know if I've got light coming from behind, I have to, the camera's probably going to get stuff wrong. Um, or if there's a big contrast in light and dark in the shot, the camera's going to get it wrong. So you still need to have some knowledge, yeah, not so much knowledge, but preparation sometimes.
Well, it's an
But
understanding of what the light is,
exactly. But
how it's going
for
to
most of the
react.
time, when you're walking down a laneway and you turn a corner and something happens instantly,
Yeah.
there's more chance you're going to get that photo with my settings than otherwise.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, I love it. Well, and look, mate, I'm sort of enjoying these photos for pretty much the first time. I've just banged them into a slideshow without having a close look at them.
Cool.
This okay. This screams Glyn Lavender to me.
It
This
does.
is
It
this is a
does.
classic GL shot.
Yeah.
Walk us through this one.
So this is a very small mosque in Delhi called Fatehpur Masjid. And one of my favorite places to go to. There's a really popular mosque in India, in Delhi called Jama Masjid. It holds up like to 25,000 people on the prime praying days. But even when you go there, it's filled with locals and it's filled with tourists. It's a fairly chaotic place. And if you go there, you'll be in about 500 selfies because people are so fascinated to see it. And it's a great experience, but it's hard to shoot because there's a lot of people and there's a lot of demand that them to have your photo taken. So this one, almost no one goes to. Yeah, this is the first time ever I've been there that I saw another Westerner go into it. Um, and they weren't photographers; they've just kind of wandered in. So we've walked a group in this place, and I can spend hours in this little place. There's so many opportunities to shoot. But I saw this little guy. He was over actually behind that little red fence you can see on the left-hand side of the shot. He was
Yep.
over there collecting rose petals and roses that have fallen off some plants. And then he came over here and he's taking the actual petals off the rose buds and sorting them out. So the point of this shot was for what I've included is about perspective. So the only way to get this shot is to lay on the ground and
Yep.
shoot. Yeah,
Yep.
so I'm laying belly down like a beached whale to get this photograph, which many other people are prepared to do.
Yep.
Just the ground's not always the cleanest, etc. You've got to be in the right spot for the shot. Yeah, you've got to, and the reason you want to be so low is to elevate him in the frame. If you shoot down on him, the shot doesn't work.
Mm.
If you kind of lower your camera a little bit, it doesn't work. You need that foreground leading line of the out of focus floor to draw your eye towards him. And again, it's all about perspective. And again, very simple story. There's not a lot of other elements in the shot. This was shot with a 35 to 150 Tamron. Probably, ideally, I would have preferred a 200 mil because that would have seen even less of the background, just more of him. Not more as in bigger, but the way lenses angle of view is, I would see a lot less of these arches, a lot less of this red fence, and he would have stood out just a little bit more in the shot.
Yep.
But I didn't have a 200 mil lens this trip. I had a 150.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really just about finding a moment. What's he doing? Why is it interesting? Where do I have to be to make it interesting, and how do I have to frame it to make it? And what moment do I want? But there's a connection between his eyes. So he's got his right hand, he's picking up the pedals, and his left hand, he's putting them into the bag. So there's a connection in that moment. It's almost like a triangle between his two hands and his eyes, and there's that
For
connection
me,
between those things.
it's the right hand that makes the shot.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a connection. There's you're bringing his hand into play with the subjects that are on the ground, the objects that are on the ground. And if his hand was up here, there's no connection. So,
Yeah,
um,
and the more you look at the shot, the more you see. You start to look at the clothing, and you start to look at the wrinkles in the clothing, and you start to
yeah,
look at the wrinkles on his ankle that you can see there.
exactly. Yeah,
Um,
the age. It's always hard to gauge how old people are in India.
yeah,
Um,
he's looking good for 38.
yes. So there's the amount of guys I talk to like this, and then ask how old they are, and they're like 3 or 4 years younger than me. It's
Yeah,
like,
I bet. Yeah,
oh, I feel
yeah,
so good.
love it,
Uh,
love it. All right, let's.
yeah, simple
Wow.
shots again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So how's the color? Color just burst forward in this one.
Yeah, and what's this photo about other than color and shapes, realistically? So you've got to make sure you can bring out that color. So this is a place called Patrika Gate in Jaipur in India. It's one of the most Instagram spots in India, and you can probably
Right.
see why because of all the
Yes.
color and all the engaging couples, all the pre-wedding photos, all that Instagram selfies, TikToks. I think TikTok's banned, but they all show up here and do their photographs. So this is actually someone's photo shoot that's going on. Um, but I positioned myself in a way that you couldn't see the photographer who's actually like behind one of the columns. I'm not sure why he's there. It's not where I would have chosen to be. I would have chosen to be where I am.
Yeah.
But again, shot really wide to bring in those arches and then waiting for them to walk into that light. So they're glowing in light in the rest of it because the rest of it's quite shady. But that very blazing spot of sunlight. So underexposed the scene just a bit to bring out some of that color
Yep.
and then timing and placement and pray no one walks past through each either because there's like 4 or 5 archways in this shot, so people can walk through any of those and ruin your shot at any moment. And that's the advantage of giving yourself time
Yeah,
to be there. And this is what I say about you can't plan what you're going to shoot. You can plan the places you're going to, but what you end up shooting is what's happening that's there.
yeah,
The great New York street photographer Jay Maisel shooting the streets of New York for like 58 years. And people say, well, how do you keep it fresh? And he says, well, I go with no preconceived idea of what I'm going to shoot. I just shoot what I see. And he says, and you can't come to New York and photograph New York. You can only come to New York and photograph your New York, the one you saw on that one particular day.
what a
And some
great
of the things
attitude.
some of the things you see may happen every single day. Some may
Yeah,
only happen once in a lifetime.
yeah,
But that's your version of that place. And I said, every time I go to India, never been to this place before either. But yeah, every time I go to India, I find there's a new India to shoot. There's a
yeah,
new series of experiences. And again, yeah, why would you not shoot someone in red in that colorful environment? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love the technique here, and that is that it's the angling of the wide angle lens, leaning
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah.
Now, quite often when we do landscape stuff, we're looking for foreground interest. This is the inverse of that. But I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
foreground interest comes about when you tilt the lens forward rather
Hmm.
than lowering it, you're actually tilting it. And
Yeah,
it adds that depth. You've done the reverse here where you've angled it up
exactly. Yeah.
and got a stunning result. I actually really like the way the very top of that image is almost framing it out.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's deliberate. I mean, you're looking at balance and framing when you're framing out a shot. So why would
Yeah.
you, again, just outside of those little red arches of paint or whatever they are,
Yep.
there's other stuff there, but they don't add to the photograph, so they're not in the photograph. It's
Mm.
always about what can I take out of the shot to have less in the photograph but still tell all the story. So there's every single thing I wanted to be in that shot is in that shot, and there's no flaw. There's no bottom of those columns near me. There's nothing beyond those red little arches at the top because that's enough. That's all it needs. It doesn't
Yeah.
need any more. And having more flaw in that shot would ruin that perspective feel that you were just talking about.
There's no doubt that that shot needs nothing more. There's so much going on. I mean,
Oh, man, crazy
it
place.
it
Yeah,
would have been a case of righto, what do we keep in and what do we keep out? And to
yeah.
me, it's the symmetry that brings it all together. I mean, if
Isn't that what the
you
place is all about? Symmetry and color is what the place is all
you
about.
take a step to your right there, that photo doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is why I can't understand why the photographer who was shooting them at this moment wasn't where I was or wasn't in front of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, this is dog car window. It's how many things can I eliminate? Yeah, what's the simplest way to tell this story?
Yeah.
What are the elements in this scene? As you say, symmetry, color, and people.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, this is almost
Symmetry. Yeah.
there it is again. The symmetry in the I mean, you told me that you didn't like shooting buildings, mate. Come on.
I'm not sure why I've got so many building photos. I was in a bit of a rush when I sent you the photos. I'm not sure why.
That's all
Well, I
right.
don't
That's
even
a
remember
that's
what I
a
sent you.
that's a bloody good selection so far as I'm concerned. I'm sure the viewers would agree. Love this for the green water in the foreground, in the bottom of the stairs there. The subtlety of that reflection. And again, this is one of those shots that I reckon I could look at for quite a while because I'm just now started to see the pigeons.
Lots of
And
pigeons in this place. Yeah,
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 and the light across the top.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful golden light. 'Cause it was fairly late in the afternoon when we were there. So this is the stepwell in Delhi. And so back in the olden times, this is where their main source of water would come before, and the elites would come down, and depending on where the water level was at, so that green water could be up right up by that the top walkway,
Oh,
could be
right.
right up there. Then people would sit in those little arches there, but when it's a bit lower, they sit in the lower arches. And that water probably goes, it's probably about 40 feet deep. So you can go down about another 40 feet down into steps going down into that water. And I've
Amazing.
been, when it's completely empty, I've been down in that bottom arch and it's shot up through the sort of central chimney area, I kind of call it. It's pretty cool as well, with lots of
Yeah.
pigeons flying around. But again, this is all about perspective, lines, shapes, balance, texture. Um, Very, very simple photograph, but only works if you bring everything together. Yeah, one tiny step wrong, one slight angle wrong of your camera.
Yeah.
Lens choice is, this is 17 mil wide angle lens because that gives you that perspective of depth. Um, all these elements are really, really important. And again, this is a spot where behind me there's about another 50 steps going up. So it keeps going to go up and up and up and up and up behind me. But this is me where I can simplify the story to tell everything you need to know about this place in this one frame, basically.
The thing about a place like that, and I get what you're saying totally, and looking for simplicity and just looking for the best way to tell the story. I reckon I could be in a spot like that for hours,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and find perspectives and find detail.
Yeah.
I would love to tell the story of that place. That would be awesome.
There's so many. This is a 700-year-old stepwell or something. And
Amazing.
again, when I started going to India, pretty much no one went here. In fact, my local tuk-tuk driver didn't even know how to get there. I had to try and help. He had to pull over about 4 times and asking people on the street where the well was. He had to ask people, and they didn't know, and they lived on the street, on the street of it. So, but it's been in a couple of Bollywood movies, and now you go there, and there's
Yeah.
40 or 50 locals, and they're yeah, people going there for the TikToks and the selfies, and so which is great.
Yeah.
It's great that if the place is used and seen, it's not going to fall apart. It's not going to be destroyed. So while sometimes we bemoan tourists or people in our locations, some of these places would cease to exist if it wasn't for people using them. So it's a balance.
Exactly. I love it. Well, here we go. We've got some people now.
Yeah, people, but still a building. Yeah, what am I doing? No, I include the shot for a particular reason. And the Taj Mahal is a classic example of people's expectations when they travel. If
Yep.
I say the Taj Mahal to you, what image do you see in your head?
Yeah, not that. You
No, what
see
do you?
you see a very clear shot looking down the pool. They've got the reflections and the
Yeah.
in the fountain. Is it not?
Reflecting
What is it?
pools. They're like
Yeah,
fountains, but they're never turned on, so it's just a reflecting pool basically. Yeah,
reflecting pools. Yeah, yeah,
and
okay.
the beautiful green trees down to give you all
Yeah,
all that shape and symmetry,
yeah,
and that's pretty much everyone's vision of the Taj Mahal. So when you get to the Taj Mahal on this day, this is our last day of the tour. And as you're there at 5 o'clock in the morning because you want to be there because it opens on the crack of the minute of sunrise is when the Taj Mahal opens.
yep,
And if you want photographs without 1,000 people on the Taj Mahal, you get there early and you get through security as fast as you can and you run like crazy. And that's the way to get the reflecting pool shot with nobody in it. But at about 5:15, this actually is mist. It's not pollution. There's river mist because there's a river just behind the Taj Mahal. This mist started coming in, and it's basically fog and it was getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And everyone started to bemoan, "Oh my God, I can't see." And I've got an iPhone shot of about 5 or 6 people lined up at that shot where you take that reflection shot, and you can't even see the pool, let alone the Taj Mahal. It's just grey.
wow,
It's
yep,
just 5 people and a wall of grey, and that's what they're confronted with.
yep,
So whilst I'm standing here, and I could and the Taj was appearing and disappearing continually. As you know, in fog, it's always drifting, so
yeah.
it's changing continually. Um, yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to an American tourist actually, and he's bemoaning, "Oh, the fog! I've only got this one morning to be here," and I'm saying, "Mate, I've been here a stack of times. This is the first time I've ever seen fog. Be happy because you can now take photos that not everybody has.
Yep.
Everybody's got the reflection shot, you
Yep.
know. And when you get to a location and you've got your brain so wired up that I want to get this shot that I've seen, and this is one of the curses of the internet. If we're going to go traveling somewhere, we always Google up photos of the places we're going, and when our brain starts to imprint all these images that's been shot. So when we go there, we try and create those shots.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost unavoidable not to. We start trying to create the shots that we're seeing on Instagram or wherever it was, Google. So you've got to have an open mind. You've got to accept what's there. You can only shoot what's there. You can't shoot what's not, and embrace the difference and find ways. And I found this came to me years ago at the Taj Mahal as well. A couple of days before the Taj Mahal, we'd been in Varanasi on this little evening river ceremony. We're just standing there, and this Chinese photo tour guy came up to me, starts chatting, and he had a group of photographers over there, and he came, and there's not many people in our business, so we had a good old chat. Got to be good to know him. And on this particular day, we showed up at the Taj Mahal. Our groups walked in. We've looked up. It's a beautiful sunny day. The reflection pool's gorgeous. The golden glow from the sunrise. Everything's gorgeous. But 3 of the 4 minarets have bamboo scaffolding on them all the way to the top on 3 of the 4. And the group's going, oh. and they're just devastated that all
Yeah.
of a sudden the Taj Mahal is. And then we heard Glenn, I don't know, this little Chinese photo tour guide's running over, and he's there as he goes, "Isn't this awesome?" You know, what do you mean? He goes, "The scaffolding, isn't it great?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I've been here like 100 times. This is the first time I've seen that."
Yeah.
Because now we can take photos that no one else has got. I've gone,
Yeah.
shit, yeah. And it's the same. You get to the Taj Mahal or any place in the world that's not how you expected it. Well, how can you shoot it?
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm waiting in this spot for people to walk past. And I'm hoping that when people walk past, the Taj will be visible because, as I said, it's fluctuating in and out the whole time.
Yeah.
And by chance, a group of three wearing green, red, and blue of all circumstances just happened to walk past this relatively monochrome image.
No,
So
I
it's
love it,
not,
and I love that. And it's again, it's the juxtaposition, and
yeah,
you've got three people, and they're in misstep. They're not timing this.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
They're
I
they're out
love,
of balance to the balance that is the Taj
yeah, and I
Mahal.
love the three. Like you've got a person not looking at all, a person looking right at you, and a person sort of glancing at
Halfway
you.
between, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cracker, mate. And
And it's kind of all different personalities. And the person who's not looking, the one who is striding the most.
yeah,
The one who's halfway through the strides, kind of furtively looking, so she's slowed a bit to look, and the
yeah,
person who's really looking at me is almost stopped in
yeah,
this moment. Yeah.
yeah,
So there's all, and again, simple photo, but lots of story there to be read into it. Should you want to delve deeper into a photo?
yeah. But
Um,
take the people out of that shot, and it's a fine shot of the Taj in the
yeah,
mist,
yeah.
but it ain't anywhere near as good as that.
It's not that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and I like that's probably the best photo of the trip for me.
yeah, great.
Because it's an iconic place shot differently.
Yeah, no, I love
That's
it.
kind of
Yeah,
what we want. Yeah. Varanasi again, another landscape photo.
has
Maybe I've got biased because I think I was coming on a landscape podcast. I should throw some
maybe.
landscapes in.
Maybe
But this is
where
you're
we welcome all genres here, but yes, we are a slightly landscape bias.
even
And you are
portrait.
tickling my fancy, I must say.
Oh, that's good. This is just another misty morning in Varanasi. We're on a boat going down to see the burning Ghats, but it's just this lovely balance of cool and warm reflections. This is, as I said, a crazy busy city, but at this moment it's still asleep, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
I love going to busy places and seeing them when they're not. Yeah, because that's
yeah,
again a juxtaposition. But it's again, it's still a shot about lines and angles. Yeah, there's a V connection between the building and the boats. I don't know, it's just a simple, but to me, a nice photo. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Nice reflections off the water.
yeah,
Again,
yeah.
the mist. I mean, mist and fog. Some of the best photos I took this year was when we got mist in up at the in the Otways. We were at the redwoods, and just the
Mm,
mist rolled through.
that's when you want it. Yeah,
And it was as if we'd taken a smoke machine in there, and it was
fabulous.
just it's ethereal. It just adds so much more to a
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
And again, you take that one element out of this, take the mist away, it's an okay
It's
shot, but
okay.
it's
Yeah,
not going to work.
yeah, and there's a calmness and serenity, and it's a simple shot. But
Yeah,
if that was on my wall, I'd like to look at it from time to time.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
so they don't have to be Nat Geo worthy photos every time. They just have to be things that speak to you and remind you of moments that were special to you.
yeah.
So this is Pushkar,
Love it.
camel fair again. Um, it's really simple again. Yeah, it's one man and his camel. So the camel fair, they normally have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of camels. This
Yeah,
is one guy with one camel. But it's at the early morning, the sun's just peeking over the mountaintop. Yeah, he's heading towards his camel. He's going to take him down for a drink of water. It's just simplicity. A silhouette leaves mystery. It doesn't have to. We don't always have to see someone's face to know their story. We can hopefully read a story into this photo without seeing exactly who it is. Just yeah, again, I found this trip. This trip is photographically quite different from a lot of my trips. Again, my thought process of photography is always changing, and so at the moment it is about simplicity and how do I tell a story with as few elements as possible. And this might have taken it to the absolute extreme in a place where there's hundreds of camels. I've taken a photo of one, but still, yeah, I reckon it kind of works.
question for you. So
Nice.
when you are lining up, okay, this I'm assuming this gentleman was slowly walking across the
Yep,
scene,
yep.
right? So you see him coming, you see the camel. Does the shot come to mind? Like you know right, that's I reckon about there is where where I'm going to get the best shot. You know, how many frames would you have taken for this scene, for example?
3.
Yep.
And that would be more about position of his feet and position of his stick.
Yep. Yep.
So where they're positioned is important, or where
You
he's in
you get those
stride
feet together, and again, it doesn't work.
changes as a shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, the angle of the stick and the angle of the leg are almost the same, the
Yep.
back leg. So there's a balance and symmetry in that as well. And this is a very low percent. This is be almost down on the ground. I'm kneeling to get this shot
Yep.
to elevate them up in the scene, to raise them up into that sky more. Otherwise, that mountaintop's going to be sort of half-hiding the camel.
Yep.
Um, and so yeah, you see these two elements coming together, and you try and find your position in relation to those two elements, and then you wait for the serendipitous moment where
Yeah.
the balance comes together.
Yeah, and look,
Um,
you and I have been doing this for quite a while, and if you're anything like me, I'm seeing that shot come together, man. It still just gets me so excited when I can when you it's almost like you're foreshadowing, you're predicting. You go, I know that this is going to
oh
work,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
please just stand there or just move
yeah.
there for me, and then it
Don't
happens.
walk that way. Walk that way.
Yeah,
Don't come towards me. Don't. Yeah, just keep in the same vectors, and yeah, it's yeah. So your heart does quicken. It always does. It has to. Why do we do? I don't give a damn about my photos. I said this last time on the podcast. If I like, in fact, on the last day at the airport in Delhi, you have to take everything out of your bags: batteries, cameras, lenses,
yep.
hard drives. Absolutely everything's got to come out of your bags. Take your shoes off, and I emptied everything out. And my hard drive wasn't there with all the photos from the trip on it, and it's gone. It was in there before. I realized the zip wasn't closed, so it's fallen out, obviously, as we're moving between vehicles or whatever. I
Oh,
guess the only thing I can do is message the bus that dropped me out, our bus that dropped me off. Can you just check, see if it's there? Otherwise, it's gone. And there's a moment of, oh, damn. And then, oh, well. And the group got together, and I said, "Oh, I lost my hard drive with all my photos." And they're all, "Oh my God," they're all crying. "Aren't you upset?" So it doesn't matter. We've had the experience.
yeah,
Yeah, the experience was everything. That we had, all the moments and times that we shared. It would be nice to see the photos to remember those moments, but as an overall, the trip will never be forgotten.
yeah,
And then by chance, I found the hard drive. But it's like, oh, there it is. And they all go, oh my God. And I go, yeah, either way. So I don't care about the photos. I
yeah,
care about the joy of doing. And if
yeah,
you don't get excited about seeing these two elements come together and you get in the right position and you get the framing right and you're getting his exposure right and getting the moment right, that's where the fun is. That's where the joy in photography has to be.
yeah,
Because if you
absolutely.
rely on the photos for your joy, you take so few good ones that yeah, there's not a lot of joy in your photography.
Well,
I sense a lot.
for one, I'm really rapt that you found that hard drive, just because I wouldn't have seen these photos, but surely there is still like you look at that photo now and it takes you back there, and that's what the
Yes,
joy
yeah,
of the beauty of
yeah,
photography and it,
yeah.
as I say, those moments like you say, like your heart starts to race and this is going to be a cracker, it's coming, but to be able to have it, I don't know. I mean,
It's
I guess
nice.
in some ways it's almost like they're the trophies, that
Yeah, they
come.
are, but see, I take a lot of photos.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of photos. Yeah, if I lose some, it doesn't really matter that much.
not the end of the world. Yeah,
And people don't believe that, but the only photos that matter to me are my family. If I lost those, it's devastating.
yeah,
If I lost a photo I took on tour, so and I said, and so to me, if you can't get enough joy out of the doing, I said the photos themselves will never be enough. And then I find people then going into competitions.
yep,
They need to find constant uh, ways to get back the joy, maybe not even the joy of the photo, but other affirmations for wow, you did good.
yep.
What if you lose that competition? What if it's voted down? What if the judge comes out and says bad things about it? Does
Yep.
it spoil your joy of going out and doing it? It shouldn't
Yep.
do, you
That's
know?
right. And if
But
it does, you're in the wrong game.
yeah, because it's a hard sport.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, now we're getting into the good stuff, Lavender. This is wow. Okay. Yeah. Where do we start with this? This is fantastic.
So we're talking earlier about the guys that we paid to have their photographs taken. And this guy is what's called Ash Baba, ASH, Baba, BABA. So the coloring on him is human ashes. So he rubs his body every day with human ashes. So we were
Right.
doing a shoot with him down the bottom, and with this plinth there with that lighting and everything else. we had two or three guys for 15, 20 minutes, and everyone's getting some great shots. But him and all his other buddies, once he'd photographed, he went back up with his mates, and they call me over, and I come over and I'm just sitting with them. And we're talking. This is where we're sharing WhatsApp and all this sort of stuff. And he's lighting up a marijuana pipe here. But just whilst we're sitting there talking and sharing our WhatsApp stuff, I see he's pulled up the pipe and his mate goes to start to light him up. And it's like, get the camera, bang, bang, bang.
There it is.
Again, though, those camera settings being set 250 to the second, 5.6 is pretty much going to be okay. Sharpness is going to be okay. Focus and depth wise. Sharpness as far as movement's concerned. And that the ISO, which is probably like 12,800 because it's pitch
Yeah.
black at this stage.
Yeah.
But this is the moment that match lit that much light in his face for a fraction of 1 second.
And there's no question at all. It's the glint in the eye.
Yeah, and that's the glint from that little catch light from the flame lighting up,
Yeah.
but he's looking straight down it because we've got this relationship now. Yeah, we've spent. I've got photos of him and his family, and he's got photos of me and my family. He sends me every morning I wake up, or when they wake up about 6 hours after wake up, he sends me a daily blessing. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So so I look at this photo and I remember him and I remember all the moments, but it's a cracking shot. But as again, it's there's elements that come together that make the shot better again. The grey ash on his body looks kind of blue because it's nighttime. The warmth of the cigarette of the match and the warmth of his turban is orange. So you got this juxtaposition of cold and warm elements as well, this contrast. So there's all these things. The other arm is warm toned versus blue toned. You know, there's all
Yes.
these other elements that come together that I think elevate the shot even further. Yeah,
There's
not saying
probably
it's the
one.
world's best ever shot, but it's
Oh, mate, it's up
pretty
there.
good.
There's an element in this shot that I really like as well, and I think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think his eyes are locked on you. They're just slightly off into the distance.
He's stoned.
Right. Well, well, thank goodness, because that just adds that extra, it's the detail that
Yeah,
that just
yeah,
adds that extra element. Now, I think if his eyes are locked on you, that's it's a more of a startling image. I think just because he's just slightly off,
yeah. I agree.
it's a softer feel to it. It's a less confronting feel. It's more of
Yeah,
a wistful look on his face. So
yeah. It's not a confronting image, which it
yeah,
might be if he's looking straight down the barrel.
yeah, no,
Absolutely.
love it. That's
And
so
it's yeah,
cool.
but I said this is again about the advantage of settings that the immediacy to shoot with a fraction of a second warning and be fairly confident you're going to get the shot. So yes, this is definitely this is the first time I shot with this fixed settings as an idea. It kind of goes against the photographer brain that you have to be worrying about aperture and depth of field and all the stuff. No, you need to get the shot
Yeah,
first and foremost, and it's quite a revolution for me. It's a revolutionary way of shooting.
yeah, no, I love it. Very
Again,
cool.
oh, this is just a photo of it. So we talked before earlier about pay to play photos. So again, at Pushkar, nothing was particularly happening this particular morning. We were there and not a lot's happening. So when nothing's happening, what do you photograph? Well, you can't photograph nothing. So that's my job as a tour guide to make stuff happen. So
Yeah,
I approached these two snake charmers. And this was going to be, I knew it was going to be a pay to play because that's what they're there for.
yeah,
Can we take some photographs? So the group took their photos. We got the light out. We did some LED lighting. We did some cool stuff. Got some nice shots. And then at the end, again, one of the guys says, "Come sit next to us," and he puts his cobra around my neck, up on my head. And it's going around me and doing all this sort of stuff. So again, the experience. So yes, we paid to play, but then we built on that with a personal experience with them. And the guy whose Cobra it is, he got home. We were actually on the bus that night, leaving out of. Actually, no, it was the bus. Yeah, I think it was the bus leaving out of where we were. He was on a motorbike going along with his wife and his kid on the bike. So having a laugh, and then got home that night. And of course, we got the WhatsApp. So he's sending me photos of his family at Hull. He's sending his photos of his kids and all. So we've got this again, this great connection. There's a way of connecting with people, even when there's not much language to share. There's a humanity we can share. So I just
yeah,
thought this photo kind of epitomized the how do you elevate the pay to play experience to something that when you look at the photographs, it will give you joy. because I'll never forget having the cobra. It didn't worry me in the slightest. I'm not scared of snakes or anything. So that was no. I didn't look in his mouth to see if he'd been defanged or not. For the rest of the group, they were freaking out, and that's a great experience again for everybody. We've turned this moment into something that's memorable, which is what
Yeah.
the job is to do.
No, I love it. Love it. Very cool.
Oh, and I'm not sure how many photos we've got to go, but again, the Taj Mahal, in the same location as the previous
Probably
shot.
got about another five or so to go.
Okay, no, it's same, but same location, same concept. But these birds were there one time for one fraction of 1 second. I
Yeah.
took three photos. I took the one where they're in the best location, but I had to run down from where I was, get down lower, frame it just as they went past, and I saw them coming, and no one else moved.
Yeah.
And there's no time to say, "Quick, everybody, come!" because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
literally 2 seconds from go to woe.
Yeah.
But again, Taj Mahal, different.
So
Yeah,
you said you got three frames of the birds
yeah,
going across.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And
can I guess that this is the third frame?
I think it's actually the second.
Okay, all right. And
Yeah,
the reason I say that is because you've
I
given
would have
it
thought the same.
you've given it a feeling that the birds are unveiling that view.
Yeah, I would have thought the same though. That you got it right. What often happens to this stuff is you go a bit early. You
Yeah,
pre-anticipate, so you're shooting before the actual
yeah,
events
yeah,
happened,
yeah.
and then it's only towards the end when it's actually coming towards. Sometimes you just finish shooting and it hasn't finished, which is a terrible thing to do.
Yes.
But yeah, this is I think the second, and again, it's really about their placement in the shot. The third one, there were more bounds to the right of the shot, and the first one they were a bit too far to the left of the shot. So
Yeah.
again, it's all about balance. And as you say, they're kind of pushing back that mist, which is kind of cool.
That's what it feels like to me. Yeah, like they're
Yeah,
unveiling it.
no, I
Very
agree.
good.
I agree.
Yeah,
It's
very
I
nice.
love hearing other people's perspective. And again, how do you go to iconic locations and shoot it in different ways?
Yeah.
So we were very lucky that when we went to the Taj Mahal the night before, there's a park opposite the Taj, that we had a beautiful sunset, and the people could see it, and it was clear, and they could get some good photos. Where the
Yeah.
following morning, of course, all fog.
So
But
as a tour leader or tour guide,
yeah,
for want of a better phrase, you would have got there, seen this, and gone, excellent.
yeah,
They're going to get their Taj shot
yeah, absolutely.
tomorrow
Pressure's
morning.
off.
Whatever happens, happens.
Pressure's off. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And so then it's a matter of we've all got a sequence of shots from all between these trees, and we've got different tree branches and tree limbs and stuff, different leaves framing the Taj Mahal.
yeah,
And then I've got one other one with birds flying past it as well. But it's a matter of keep moving. Don't just take the one shot and then stand and look at it. Keep working the shot. Sometimes it's what you have to sketch images of a location. You gotta okay, that's okay, but it's not. You got to keep shooting until it starts to feel I'm getting better. This is starting to come together as a shot, and this is
yeah,
probably the peak shot of this series that I took, simply because of all the angles and the lines, and once again, people don't see the Taj looking like that.
yeah,
How do you shoot iconic place? Go and shoot the Eiffel Tower in a different way.
yeah.
Yeah, find a way to do something that not
And
everybody's or
and
not
and
everyone
I
does.
say this to people who come to my entry level workshop. I say, look forward to becoming a photographer because you will see places in different lights, but different angles.
Yeah,
You'll get photos of places like this shot of the Taj, and you'll show it to your friends, and they'll say, "Hey, I went there. I never saw that."
yeah, yeah. But it's the greatest joy as a photographer is that we see the world differently,
Yeah, 100%.
and we're so fortunate that way.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Well,
Moments,
hello,
lights,
pussycat.
angles. Yeah, I mean, we were shooting this guy, and he's stoned on opium. This guy, he
Right.
just done an opium ceremony for me for our group, and he was glassy eyed as all get out. But again, just that serendipitous moment that I love the light and the angles and the shadows and the textures, and then a pussycat walks past, and
Yeah.
he's going the right direction into the sun,
Well,
into that
we're
V-shaped shadow.
playing with pretty harsh light here.
Oh, blazing sun, blazing
Yeah.
hard sun. Yeah, no such thing as bad light, just bad use of it.
Yeah.
So that blazing sun on that angle, you can tell it's angled by the lines of the shadows. That gives you the texture in the brickworks, which otherwise would just be a white building,
Of course.
well, bluey white building. And then all those lines from all the shadows from all the protuberances on the building give you all these angles to work with. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
a kitty cat to make it even better. Yeah.
Just to add a little extra element.
So back to the same location where that girl was on the boat with her boyfriend.
Yep.
but with all the birds. I'm throwing food up into the air at sunrise as the birds come flying in. I'm hitting this poor guy with the food because I'm a crap throw. So
Yeah.
he's rowing. I'm trying to get birds in the most interesting location. It's just
Yep.
it's fairly simple, but it's evocative of the moment and the place and the memory. It's a
Yeah.
bloke again, really simple photo. Yeah, angles. You got lines, receipt. Yeah, converging lines. Him rowing. Him looking way out of the frame. I think is important too.
How awesome is it that the oars are two different colors?
Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't thought of that until you mentioned it. Absolutely. Red and yellow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a weird juxtaposition of his phone on the bench next to him, which
Okay.
I hadn't even seen till just then.
Yeah.
You know,
And I don't know why, but I saw that pretty early on when that image came up. So it begs the question: are you tempted to get rid of the phone, or does it stay there?
oh, I only saw it then for the first time.
Yep. Yep.
And I would absolutely keep it because it's that juxtaposition. I've got this great photo from a few trips ago of this a nomadic camel tribe in the middle of a desert, and there's always camels around. The leader's sitting there on his mobile phone. And it's just that juxtaposition of old and new is you've got to shoot what's there, not contrive something that's not.
Yep.
This is the real India. Everyone's got a phone,
Yep.
you know?
I think for me it stays absolutely, and I
Yeah.
think the better photographers use that to their advantage rather than there's a fine line between something that's distracting and something that adds to the story.
Absolutely. There's always a balance.
Yep.
Absolutely. But
Yep.
you can't shoot the India that was there 30 years ago because it's no longer there. You can shoot the India that's there now.
That's
And
right.
they've all got phones and they'll have t-shirts with brand names on them.
Yeah.
And they'll have, it's the real world. That's what we want to convey. Because
Yeah.
people will look back at these photos in 30 or 40 years' time and there'll be nostalgia and it'll be a different world from what they have now. Well
That's right.
then, yeah. Simple. But
Yeah.
again, find the light and wait for someone to walk through it.
I, that it's a cool shot. It feels like that's a mirror. I don't know what makes me think that, but it
Yeah,
feels like it's
because
a dude
it's
checking
the
himself
darker
out in the
frame
mirror.
around the outside of it. It does
Yeah, I
look.
guess so. Yeah, I don't know, but wow, great light.
But yeah, but that's it. So this is in whom this is actually funny. If this is, I don't know if this is the last photo. I'm pretty sure it is. This is the inside the building that our very first shot was. With the
Yep.
reflecting pool and the lady walking. This is inside that tomb. But you find great light. Wait for something to happen. Get your framing. Be ready for it. And by chance, there's an archway to the right of this shot, which you can't see because it's not in the photo. And I saw this guy coming because he's walking that way through the
Yep.
shot. So I'm
Yep.
sitting there, okay, I know he's coming, so I'm ready
Yep.
for it.
Yep.
And I was waiting, and by chance, he's probably seen me as he's walked past. So he's looked in to see what am I doing. Perfect. Bang, bang,
Love
bang.
it.
Yeah.
And I love the look on because you've sort of caught this guy before he's had a chance to react.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just looking. It's an inquisitive.
What the
It's a
hell? Yeah.
it's
Why is that
curiosity,
guy
you know.
standing in the dark, which effectively it was, standing in the dark, aiming at a doorway? But again,
Yeah.
the texture of that warm and cold, the cool colored floor, the warm color
Yeah.
through the doorway, the symmetry of the arches, the textures in the floor, the textures in the walls. Yeah, that simple
Yeah.
photos, effective.
Awesome. And also, I think what's shone through in the series of photos we've looked at, the clothing.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive part of India. Would I
Yeah.
be right? Like you would
And so,
really enjoy that.
this is a Hindu man, sorry, a Muslim man. So he's
Yeah.
wearing traditional Muslim clothing,
Yeah.
and yeah, and clothing is super important in India because different regions have different colors
Right.
and different jewelry, and so you can show someone a photograph of India who knows India well, they'll know what part of India that person's from.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It's important.
No.
It's part of the
Well,
culture. Yeah.
there endeth the photos. You are right.
Yay! Perfect
That
time.
was awesome. Thanks, mate. That was
No
incredible.
worries.
Hopefully people at home got as much out of that as I did because, as I say, I barely looked over those images before putting them together. So I love
Me
getting
too, when I
that.
sent them to you. I bet you looked at what I was sending.
That's right.
I thought I sent some more portraits, but
So
obviously.
again, for those of you who are listening, we will chuck those up on our Facebook page next week after Friday when this goes live. So absolutely sensational, mate. I mean, you must just have so much fun over there.
Well, that this is the biggest joy is at the end of every day, people go, "Oh my God, this has been so amazing! I can't believe how good." After day one, people are saying the tour's justified already.
Yep.
That I've done enough and seen enough in one day that whatever happens now doesn't matter because
Yeah.
I'm good. And then every day you try and build on that because it's all about variety as best as possible. So you see and try and do different things every day. So
Yeah.
the experience isn't the same. There's not another effing fort. Or not an effing castle you get in England.
Yeah.
You can't just see the same things over and over again. So hopefully every day brings new experiences and new joy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
lots of
it's that
fun. Yeah,
variety that you get in a place
crucial.
like that that just
Yeah.
makes every day different and probably
Yep.
every few hours
Every
different.
trip, every trip, as I said, I've never been to the same place twice, but I've
Yeah.
been to the same place lots of times.
Love it. Well,
Yeah.
mate, been awesome. So this 1 hour podcast has gone for nearly two. So fantastic. Good work.
Sorry, dude.
I kind of knew that would happen, and that's totally fine. If people would like to join you on one of these trips, Glenn, obviously we're going to link things below, but how do they get involved?
The best way to connect with me, and that just means it doesn't mean you have to come on a tour. It doesn't mean you have to come on a workshop. I'm always open to answer questions for anybody who thinks I can add any value to what they want to know. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, just Glynn Lavender. There's only one of me in the world, so I'm easy to find. Um, just reach out and say, I've got a question about this. Anything I might have said in today's podcast, say, oh, what did you mean by that? Happy to answer questions always. If I happen to see you on a tour and I advertise them in all those places, if you happen to come to a workshop, which are amazing, by the way, aren't they, Brendan? Just say
Well,
yes, Brendan.
of course
Just
they
say,
are.
mate,
Goes
yeah.
with it clearly goes without saying.
Well, no, I want you to say it. But yeah, if you want to come join me, I'd love to have you and share a beautiful part of the world with you. Yeah.
Well, I've been very fortunate to have this man down to my shop here in Ocean Grove a couple of times to run his natural light portrait workshop. And I dare say we'll be hopefully getting you down in 2025 for one of those as well.
Love
So
to,
keep an eye
love
out for
to.
that. They're brilliant. That's a good, a good afternoon spent with Mr. Lavender down here in lovely Ocean Grove. Any excuse to come down here is,
Always a good excuse.
why not? So, thanks a million for joining me. Oh, look, if
Pleasure.
you've got any comments, people, you can leave them below. You can get in touch with Glynn by the socials, as he's already pointed out. And again, everything will be linked below. Thanks a million for joining us on the Down South Photo Show, Glynn. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
No, always love talking about myself. You know that.
Of course you do. I love it. That's it. That's the podcast. We will see everyone for episode 146, maybe with the 5'2" Tasmanian. Who knows? But
He's
once
not
again,
that tall, surely.
well, that's true. Once again, Glenn, thanks for your time. We'll see you
My
next
pleasure,
week.
mate. Good to see you.
Cheers. Bye.